Hello everyone, today we are going to review the questions is virus alive or not, and let's take a look. Right now we have 7 responses so far. We are waiting for more response to come in, but based on this graph you can see that we have 85% or 85.7% of the class who say no and 1% who say yes. Let's take a look at some of the comments that you put. Some say that it is based on what you learn about the cells. They learn that bacteria is alive because they have something called cells. I see that the cell is mentioned in many of the answer. And right here too, it explains how cell is required or cells are required for any living organisms. Okay, well, let's take a look. So right here, I asked a few questions. One of the questions is, what is a characteristic of living things that viruses have? So right here, I see the DNA repeat quite a few times. Some people share that they couldn't find any. Some share that they are able to make copies of themselves. So let's take a look at the article right here. So on the article that you read from Newsella, it said that virus shows some of the characteristics of living things. They have DNA, very good. A few people mentioned that, which contains the instruction for how each part of a creature works. They also change over time and create copies of themselves. However, most biologists argue that they aren't alive because they can't replicate themselves and make new viruses. Let's take a look at another question. What is used to prevent virus? Okay, I see vaccine mentioned quite a few times. Some also mention antiviral. Very good. And right here, what are the difference between antibiotic and antiviral? Let's take a look right here. Antibiotic is to treat bacterial infection, while antiviral is to treat virus. So one is for bacteria and one is for virus. Next one right here. After reading the article, do you think the virus is alive or not? So we see similar data from the beginning, but we see the majority say no. And you also include the reason why you put that it is no. I see a lot of very good quotes that you pull out from the articles. Great job. Well, let's take a look right here. It says right here that virus shows some of the characteristic of living things. But what are the characteristics of living things? Let's take a look. Right here it said what it means to be alive. An organism is an individual form of life. And if we take a look right here on the bottom, we also see what makes something alive, and there is a set of criteria and characteristics things need to have in order to be alive, including responding to their surrounding, being able to grow and develop, to reproduce, use energy, and last but not least, that they are made of smaller building blocks called cells. So right here, we can see from the Newsella article is that most biologists argue they aren't alive, they referring to virus, because they cannot replicate themselves and create new viruses. Let's take a look at another paragraph in the Newsella article. Right here it said that virus are snippets of DNA that takes over the living things to copy themselves. So right here we can see that virus and cell is actually not the same. So you learned earlier about cells with Miss Hoffman in quarter 1. But let's take a closer look at what a virus is. So we can see right here that there is a capsule, and inside there is a genetic material, DNA or RNA. In the case of coronavirus, it is a RNA virus. What it means is that within the COVID virus, inside they have their genetic material is a strand of RNA sequence. And then right here you can see this protein layer covering around it. So take a look at virus versus cells. Earlier when you learn about cells, you learn about the different organelles, but you can see that virus is actually a lot smaller. It is just a sequence of genetic material, DNA or RNA. And what they do is that they actually cannot make copies of themselves. They actually, because they cannot make copy of themselves, what they do is that they come into the host cells, so the cell of a living organism, inject the genetic material, and because they cannot make copies of themselves, they use the host cells to make copies and release it. So back to the question, is virus alive or not? And like many of you said, the answer is no. It is not alive because virus that does not have cells and they also cannot make copies on its own. I see a lot of great facts from what you share about what you learn as well. And for this coming week, this is what you are going to be working on. Let's take a look at the form. You're going to talk about what you know about body system and what body system you think are needed to successfully run a mile. Afterward, you're going to take a look at this picture, this 5 picture right here from A to Z. Which one do you think is the simplest one and which one comes first? You're going to list them from the simplest one to most complex. Afterward, you're going to explain right here which one do you think is the simplest one and which one do you think is a more complex one. And last but not least, there's a video that you're going to watch on the level of biological system, and you're going to tell me something you learned from the video. Look forward to seeing you next week. Take care and have a great day.